Hello and welcome to Chapter 3 of the Virtual Education on Sales Culture. In this chapter we will talk about basic sales culture, and we will look at concrete action steps that you can take to introduce the sales culture, or action steps that are pretty basic in the area of sales culture. Just to give a quick summary again of what we have talked about so far. So in Chapter 1 we have looked on the question of what sales culture actually is. We have looked at different aspects of sales culture and talked about how these aspects can be partly measured or observed in your team and in your LC. And then in Chapter 2 we talked about the impact that sales culture will have on different areas of your team and again your LC. So now in Chapter 3 we have 5 areas, let's call it areas, that we will use because all of these are referring to concrete action steps. The structure is a little different this time from Chapters 1 and 2. Here's just a quick overview of the areas we are going to look at. After this we will actually look at a time frame, look at a semester and different time periods in which you can start different action steps. So what I will show to you, or what we will talk about, is kickoffs, competitions, recognition, member inclusion, and your process of IGIP selling. So let's go to the timeline. So first of all, when you start the semester, let's say you're pretty much in building up your sales culture, but even if you're like in a basic kind of sales culture situation, you would want to use this this time frame, or exactly. So what you should start with is giving your member a clear start. So your members should understand, now is the time that we start the semester and this is what we're going to do. So this means a kickoff event. This is something that you need in any project or anything that you do, but especially in this case, because you have to tell your members what you expect from them, but they will also have to tell you what they expect from you. And then you have to set goals together and distribute responsibilities. So the main part of this kickoff event is really setting goals, because you and your members, you have to agree on something, on what you want to achieve together, and this is the only way that you will actually be able to do so, by having a clear start and having a clear vision and aim together. And then what should also be part of that is already a planning of the next couple of weeks. So you should already look at what you're going to do. When are you going to do a sales day, a sales week? Include them in that and have a clear plan, so that they understand now the kickoff has taken place and from tomorrow on we're really starting. It's not about putting it on the long bench again. So during this first month, what you should also do is include your members. So whenever you think about how to proceed with the semester, or what should the future be of your team, or how to develop anything, include your members in your thoughts. When you think about that, ask them for their opinion. Ask them for their expertise. Tell them that you consider them experts, which is why you ask them. It will build up their self-esteem. Do specific meetings where you talk about the strategy with them, where you talk about your process, where you talk about your overall situation in the team and what can be improved. So ask their opinion and tell them why you ask their opinion. And the reason is that you appreciate them for their expertise, and tell them that over and over again, so that they build up a self-esteem as being good sellers. So moving along to the second month, you should start to offer competition. You can also, of course, already do that in the first month. That is also a possibility. But now in the second month, it's your latest time to start competitions. So you can either do a competition in your LC or in your team. For example, if you have two racing teams, have them do competitions against each other, or for example, offer your team a bottle of martini for every team meeting they race within 48 hours. All this kind of things, and give them a feeling of appreciation. Of course, use opportunities that are given to you by the NST. So if there is any kind of competition going on, or any time of any kind of framework for that, use it. Tell it to your members, make them hot, make them want to win. They really have to strive for the win. And of course, you have to give them an objective why they should want to win. So competition, as I said, every seller loves winning. You love winning, I'm sure you do. So think about what your fellow members think. They probably also love winning quite a lot. So use that for yourselves, for you. Okay, that should actually be a big part of your second month, which is why we're already moving on to the third month. And now we're coming to the point where you should give feedback, and where you should also establish common standards. So first of all, what you should do, what you might have already started in this first month when we talked about getting feedback from your members, you should start a process development. So now your team had first experiences, they saw how everything worked, how the process went, how they found companies, all this kind of stuff. Now is a good moment. Sit together with them and talk about this process, and talk it through from the first point to the last. You can either do you can do a timetable, so talk about what a perfect semester looks like. But you can also just talk about the process of how one perfect TN is raised and matched. So where would you look for the company? Where's your perfect source? Is it Hoppenstedt? There are better sources than Hoppenstedt. What are the specific great sources in your area, in your region? So do that. Talk with them about that. How to contact the companies. What is going to be sent to them. How to do a company meeting. What are the questions that you should ask the other person in a company meeting to really get to understand their needs. All this kind of things. Talk it through, write it down, make a great poster out of it, and hang it in your office, so that you all together have a great standard, have a common standard, and you all agree on the perfect way how to raise and match a TN. This will again take your members into account. They will feel appreciated because you ask them for their opinion, and again ask them for their expertise. You have a member who's very good in company meetings, perfect. That member should prepare a session on company meetings, and from that session you can start talking about the aspect of company meetings in your process. So include your members as much as possible. Then moving along to the fourth month, you should recognize your members. That is very important in the end, both internally and externally. And then you have to show them a clear career path, as it's so fancily said in ISEC most of the time. But let's start with the recognition. So as I said, members or sellers, they like winning. But winning is only really satisfactory if it is displayed. So at the next LCM, take your top member and start a speech. Don't tell him before, just tell him to come and have a great speech about this one guy or this one girl who is so great and she has pushed us so far. Don't say that it's about this person, just have this great speech, and then in the end you're gonna be like, and Max, I want to tell you, I'm really thankful for having you on my team, and I brought you a bottle of martini. Do these kind of things, like to show your members that you really appreciate what they do for you, and show that great performance is appreciated and is being recognized and is being rewarded in some kind. You can also use things like conferences, send them on conferences as a recognition for great performance. But also, if you're not satisfied with the member, tell this member, but tell this member in person in a very, very quiet moment. So take this member aside, ask the member if he's ready for feedback, and tell him that you're not quite satisfied. Don't say that you're not satisfied. Tell him that you have expected him to be able to perform even better. That is a good way, because it will not shake his self-confidence. It will just make him reflect on what he did and reflect on if he can actually be better. And what might happen is that he's unsatisfied himself with his performance and then be even stronger in the next semester. And then, of course, let me check again that I didn't forget anything. Exactly. Oh, I didn't talk about that. Give them incentives to stay on board. So what you need to do is, you have great members, you have great performance. Awesome. Show them their career path. Go to them and tell them that you really are impressed by their work that they did in this semester, and ask them if they don't want to become team leader in the next semester. So have them feel that they can improve, that they can get better, that they can rise by doing good performance. And then, of course, this is a very important lesson that you should take out of this lecture. Be a role model. There is a virtual education that I think is very, very good, and that I would advise you to check out, which is Leadership in Sales. And there is also a lot of aspects or talk about how to be a role model and what it means to be a role model. Your members will only perform if you perform yourself. You are the first one who has to do things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to call companies, but it means that you have to show your members how much work you do and what you do. Don't just expect them to do things, but also show them that you are working most, because you're their leader, and as a leader you should be the one who puts most work and most effort into this team. So again, I really advise you to check out Leadership in Sales. So that's actually it for chapter 3. So basics in sales culture. I hope that you have taken out a couple of concrete action steps that you can take to start a sales culture in your team, and how to get your members on track and how to get your members excited for being sellers. So if you feel like you want to know more, like you want to improve, you want to even do more things to boost the sales culture in your team, then I would be happy to welcome you for chapter 4, which is Advanced Sales Culture. Okay. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you in the next chapter.